Hey, this is Matt. Once again, we're about to the video. This is a paid request for Masi. Thank you so much for that. For those interested in requesting any type of videos, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. I'll get to as soon as I can. And this is for Stigmata, a 1999 film which I had seen before, but it's been a while since I've seen it, so I didn't remember a whole lot about it. Which I think did get a Blu-ray from Stream Factory. Which, no, I will not be picking it up. And no, I did not hate the film. I kind of put it as if The Exorcist was a music video. A 2000s music video. Then this is kind of how it would be. Very, very flashy. Very flashy. Anytime something happens to Patricia Arquette, there's all sorts of cuts and edits and flashes, and I'm waiting for some song to pop up. But I don't hate it. I do like the cast. Patricia Arquette from Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, The Dream Warriors. You have Gabriel Byrne from The Usual Suspects. He would also be in End of Days the same year, speaking of religious horror films. Nia Long from the film Friday. She plays Patricia's friend, best buddy. Jonathan Pryce, who's been in a lot of stuff. I remember him as Jack in Jumpin' Jack Flash, and he was the bad guy in Tomorrow Never Dies, the James Bond film. Pretty much the story is Gabriel Byrne is this scientist who's also a priest who is sent out to look and investigate miracles and see whether they're true or false, factual or not. He immediately gets to this place where he sees this statue bleeding during this funeral for Father Alameda, or Alameda, not sure how to pronounce it. I'll say Alameda for sake of argument. So at one point, a kid steals a rosary from there, sells it to a woman, and then that woman is the mom of Patricia Arquette and sends it to her as a gift. Now I will say, I gotta admit, it's very, very flashy, but it was somewhat charming to me because, weirdly enough, that's nostalgic, because I grew up in that era of movies. Because by the point this came out, I was, 16 years old. So I'm either, finding the old 80s films or, the film, I'm kind of in that age of watching these movies and hoping to get a bit out of it, where I was a bit more optimistic compared to nowadays, where I'm very cynical when it comes to movies. Pretty much what happens is Patricia, who cuts hair, from time to time gets marks of the stigmata. So she'll be in a bathtub, then she starts having these weird visions and almost drowning, and her wrists are bleeding. She gets to the hospital. They think it's self-inflicted, and she's like, I didn't do it. Then she's in a subway car, sees a priest. Are you blah blah blah? He's not. Then the train starts rocking and flashing, and she's getting whipped in the back. Gabriel Byrne is sent out there, and he witnesses the other times where, for example, she's at a club and her head starts bleeding like the crown of thorns. She walks off, and although I'm wondering how far was she from the dance club she was at, because she walks off and then Gabriel Byrne's at her apartment and turns, and there she's at. I'm like, well, thank God it wasn't, 10, 15 blocks away. Thank God, apparently this club was only 2, 3 blocks, if that, away. Maybe less. And then he's trying to figure out how to help Patricia Arquette. Now, the whole thing with Stigmata at least brings a bit of an interesting, not point of view, but at least makes it feel a bit different. where it gives at least a bit of a unique aspect for each of these attacks and how they're implemented. Yes, in a very, very music video style where it gets a bit overzealous with all the shaking. And it's funny, there's a... when she goes to a doctor, the doctor goes, well, maybe it's epilepsy. And I'm like, if you have epilepsy, you don't want to see this film, because each of these visions, you don't have a seizure. So it's funny they mentioned epilepsy, while this film could have a tendency to give you damn epilepsy. So at least that aspect is kind of interesting. Not the epilepsy, but the, stigmata and how each of those kind of builds up. Because I think it's your hands, then her back, her head, her feet. I think the last one is the spear to the torso or something. Which, she don't want that. And I think the cast, I think Patricia Arquette does a good job where, she is an atheist, but she's not really treating people horribly, at least under her own reconnaissance. And she means well, and she's confused, and she's scared, and I think she does a capable job of showcasing all those emotions. Gabriel Byrne, I do think, is a good actor, and that kind of matter-of-fact way of trying to handle this case, to try to give a strong sense of assurance to Patricia Arquette. I do think he's a capable actor of showcasing that. It's just, other than him kind of witnessing her occurrences building up, there's not a whole lot else to the movie. And then when you find out what's going on, you go, really? That's what's going on? Man, that priest is a dickhead. That's what I was... Just, well, you come to find out, spoilers, because I'm running into spoilers. Oh, by the way, the reason this is so flashy, I guess, is because it's written by Rupert Wainwright. He did the Fog remake after this, and then he never directed it again. As one should, or I should say should not, when you direct the Fog remake, you should not direct it again. This is better than the Fog remake, I'll say that. He also did Blank Check, that one with the kid. Right, there you go. Like I said, I think the cast does a good job. Even Nia Long as her friend. What you kind of find out is apparently the dead priest at the beginning before he died, was working on this gospel, where this gospel showcases what Jesus said himself. There's a lot of gospels of, this is what I think Jesus said, or this is what I heard Jesus said. Those, apparently this is from the hand of Jesus. This is what he actually wrote. Which apparently the priest was trying to transcribe with other people, and they were told no. And this guy, Alameda, was ostracized by the church. Because all Jesus said was, the kingdom is inside you. Meaning, you don't have to go to church, you don't have to worry about priests. The kingdom is inside you. And I'm sitting there going, okay, that's not really going to hurt the church. Yeah, you may have a couple people going, well, shit, I don't need to go to church. Jesus said I could do that at home. But there's still going to be a lot of people that maybe want a bit of extra credit, and they feel like, if I go to a church, it's extra credit, and they want to hear the teachings, they want to listen to all that stuff. I mean, technically, don't we already know that the kingdom is in our home? Don't we already know that you don't have to go to church, but a lot of people feel like they want to, or I just didn't see what the big deal was. Like, what was the big deal of Jesus saying this. Like, I don't think that message in now would really hurt your business or anything. To the point of this conspiracy with the priests and Jonathan Pryce wanting to shut her up and at one point trying to choke choke a bitch. Because then apparently the priest, when he died, and then the rosaries were taken, and so we're doing Amityville horror rules. Remember when they started selling off the parts of Amityville and the clock is possessed, and then because of the clock or because of the lamp, here's the rosary. Surprised it wasn't called Amityville Rosary and it had the same plot. Could have been an Amityville movie. If Father Almeida died at Amityville, then they sold his rosary, and there you go. Apparently, his spirit tended to that and then possessed her to be the priest's messenger. And apparently, the priest, he had dealt with Stigmata. I'm like this? Obviously not. So this priest a dick. He's like, you know what? You're not going to listen to me? Fuck you. I'm going to possess this lady. And yeah, I can do it because she's an atheist. But yeah, she did stigmata because I was stigmatted. And I guess it's more painful for her because she's an atheist, or more painful for her because I say so, because I'm possessing her, bitch. I'm like, fuck you, priest. You're supposed to be for God. God would be pissed at you. Maybe God's like, I don't want you to be a messenger. You're too much of an asshole. Too much of a prick. You're taking this poor lady and torturing her. They need your message across. Maybe, I don't know, write a letter. Could Ghost write letter? There's something called Ghost Writer. And I'm not talking about the comic book. I'm talking Ghost Writer with the W. Do that. Piss in the snow. I don't care what you do. Stop torturing this lady to get your message across, you asshole. Or possess her and write the shit down. Just write the shit down. This is blah, 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 blah. There you go. Now leave. Get the fuck out of Dodge. That's why I'm like, with the story, I'm like, what? Like, that's what's going on? And this, man, it just made me think, like, man, are all priests prickish like you? I guess as long as you don't get them near kids. Like, you prick. That's what bothered me with the story watching, and I'm like, that's what's going on? So why is this priest who's like he wants the word of God to be out there, but yet he's not following his teachings much because you're torturing this lady. But I guess it's an atheist, so fuck her. I guess that's the case. I don't know. But it wasn't even on purpose, to be fair, because he didn't plan for the rosary to be taken. He didn't plan for the rosary to go over here. So was he forcibly made to possess her? Or did he have some kind of plan? Or I don't know what the deal was. Hell, possess the kid who stole the rosary. It's his fault. He touched the rosary. He's the thief. Possess the kid. Make him go through shit. The kid's the thief. Or hell, possess the mom. She's the one who accepted it. Didn't ask questions. Possess the mom. They're just his fault as well. And that's the thing is, I will say this film does go at a fast pace, so I was never bored. If you take out the end credits, it's like 90 minutes long. Like I said, it gets overzealous with all the flashy stuff, but it gets too overzealous. But I will admit, I got kind of I hate to say a giggle out of them, because I'm like, yep, this is the era I remember. And you know what? Compared to today, I miss this era of movies. I really do. I mean, we praise the 80s for good reason. Unless you're Tarantino, who hates it for some reason. And the early 90s, but even the late 90s, I'll praise. There's a lot of films there I like. And I miss that era more than this fucking era. Like, seriously, I want that era back than the era we have now. I really mean that. So, at least It may be too flashy, but at least it's something and not boring ass message movies. And like I said, the stigmata aspect is interesting. It's just where the story went, I went, hmm. And also, you don't get a lot of development. Like Gabriel Byrne, it would have been nice to have a scene where you think it's a miracle, and then you see how he looks into it, and everybody thinks it's a miracle, but he does his. They say he's a scientist, but nothing about him screams scientist, other than, yeah, I sent it to a lab. Okay, I just sent it to a lab too. Doesn't make me a scientist. I sent it to a lab, they told me these things. Well, I could do that too. Does that make me a scientist? Have a scene where, again, there's a miracle, or so you think, and he's looking at it, he's studying things, and he notices things no one else does, and this is not a miracle because of this, and this, and you see him work through it. You see him, oh, this is how educated he is. This is how he breaks it down. And okay, some people get pissed at him because he proved it, but at the same time, he's like, well, do you want the truth or not? So that, and maybe because of how, is that faith, and he's breaking people's faith, but he's getting the truth, and maybe that's an aspect that bugs him. It's like, well, I'm finding the truth, but some people, like, is faith just believing? So should I really shake that faith if it makes them better, if it somehow betters their lives? But at the same time, I don't want them to base it on a lie. Like, that could be a conflict within him that could be interesting to explore. It doesn't do that at all. Like, why is it that a priest, okay, he died, but then why is he being such a prick to possess this lady, to get his message across? And aren't there easier ways to get your message? And what is his message? I want to write this shit down, and I want someone to tell it. Okay, write it down on a piece of paper and do it. But sometimes, like, the visions don't want to do that, because there's a bit where she sees, I guess because she's with her boyfriend, or that she may be pregnant or not, and someone goes, well, if it happens, there's always a way to fix that. So at one point she's cutting hair, she looks over and she sees someone with a baby drop it, a version of herself. It's like, no, and she runs out, and of course there's nothing there. And that's the thing, it says it's not like this is possessed by, if, some other being, whether it be God or the devil or whatever, or a demon. It's by a person. So why is the person making her see these things? For what purpose? Just to be a troll? To be a dick? So that's what I mean with the plot. Just bugged me a bit. But like I said, I like the fast pacing. Like I said, the flashy visuals were sometimes fun. Was sometimes fun to watch, like in the bathtub bit. Some were just were discombobulated, like the subway bit. Sometimes it got very overzealous with the slow-mo, especially like water dripping on someone's face. Take a drink anytime water slowly drips onto someone's face. At least you hope it's water. But I mean, I've seen much worse films. I've had much worse times watching a film. I think the cast really helped with that. I think the way it begins, definitely more interesting. Yeah, it was fun to see sometimes how it really did look like a music video. When Gabriel Byrne is chasing Patricia to this alley, and then he comes across and there's like pipes exploding and windows clacking back and forth, and there's shots where the camera's going wide. I'm like, is it going to pan to like a bunch of dancers going or something like that? I think when it got to the third act, it kind of lost me a bit. Because again, the motivations of this spirit possessing her, like, okay, if it wants the message for us, why does it try to seduce Gabriel Byrne? Like, how's your faith these days, Father? How's your faith? And I'm like, hey, priest, why are you so pissed? You don't like this guy? He owes you money? Do you have, like, gay tendencies you're hidden and you want to see if he has them too? Like, I didn't. If there was some kind of evil, that's the thing. It's not really an evil presence, but it's like it wants to be an evil possession, demon, exorcist type of thing. But then the guy, if you found out the priest was a horrible person, but we never find that out. That's never a thing in this. Which maybe could have been interesting that this is a priest, but we find out these horrible secrets about the priest, and maybe that's what's being hidden, is the church wants to hide that sadly there are, as we know, there are pedophile priests or other horrible priests. Not all of them, but there have been some. And the church wants to hide that because it wants to protect its image, and here's this horrible priest doing these things because it wants to, and you have a good priest versus a horrible priest. I mean, that could be kind of interesting, but that's not the case here. It wants to translate the gospel. But then it also wants to seduce Gabriel Byrne. I don't know. What a great priest that guy is, huh? It does some nice. It does have some nice visuals. I think the bit where she's levitating and then she goes up and Gabriel Byrne watches her. It does move the camera quite a bit, so at least it's being snazzy. You see, you could say, well, it's showing off. But I'd rather do that than just leave the camera there, leave, and just static shots. I'm fine with if a direct. Yeah, you could be overzealous and does automatically save a film, but I like the attempt, like the try at it. Some of the music I like. I like the opening credits. Whatever happened to Mary? Whatever happened to Mary? I mean, talk about music video. That definitely streams music video. Those opening credits with the stuff. I'm like, yep, this takes me back to this era. So I try to have a smile on my face because of that. But yeah, when it got to the end and the exorcism happens, and then it's like Gabriel Byrne shoves Jonathan Pryce off because he's trying to kill her. And Gabriel Byrne's like, let me be your messenger, and there's all this fire that he's able to walk up, and I guess he will. I guess this try to have two endings. Well, she lapses and dies, but then she doesn't die and she's fine. And she just walks off. And we don't know, does she still have her job? Does she get her shit together? You think it would show, like, she's doing good in her life, and maybe she's hanging out with her mom, or maybe she goes to church, or something. No, you never see that. By the way, her friend just disappears. Nia Long? Because for a good chunk of it, she's helpful. She's trying to help her at the club. She's chasing her when she thinks there's a baby on the road. She helps carry Patricia Arquette along with Gabriel Byrne in the alley when she's got the thorns on her head, the blood coming down from her head because of the stigmata of the thorns. But then she just disappears. Nia Long disappears. I don't think they ever explain what happened to her, and you never see her again. You never see her again. Where did she go? Where did she go? I don't know. So like I said, the whole gospel and what it means, I'm like, what's the big deal? I don't see why this is such a big deal for people to have to hide it. And this big conspiracy plot theory, But the flashy visuals were fun to watch in a nostalgic sense. The movie, if you take out the intro, is like 90-some minutes long, so it went by fast. Some things do feel rushed because I think it would have been nice to have some development on Gabriel Byrne's character among others. Okay, for the Pope's Exorcist with Russell Crowe, that character, I got a sense of, we see him helping this kid, and he's able to trick the demon and mess with it and screw it over, and we see how he works. We see his quirkiness, what he rides, and his sense of humor, and how he talks to people, some of his wise-assness. So you did a bit of development, and then you have the plot unfold. So, like, Russell Crowe's character really is a fun character, and I like the Pope's Exorcist. I'll put that above this for reasons of that nature. Gabriel Byrne's a good actor, it's just we don't really know much about his character. Let's see if we got a sense of how he is as a scientist and how he looks at things, and or any person that, like, if any quirks you want to put into anything, it's not really there. But it's still, again, on the flip side, it's still nice to see him because he is a good actor. It's just, I think, with the story and once in a while tone down the flashiness, a little less slow-mo at times, like, you know. But Patricia Arquette, Gabriel Byrne would do Nia Long before she disappears. I like some of the music. I like some of the visuals of the visions during the Stigmata. I like I said, the Stigmata idea. At least makes it seem a bit different from other films. But then it just wants to be this, like, Exorcist music video and exorcism. I'm like, and then again, the motivations of the priest is like, what? And I'm like, I already said that. I'm repeating myself. So, at the end of the day, I think it's okay. It was an okay watch. I could do a lot worse than this. I'd do better, but I think Gabriel Byrne was in a much better religious movie that year, which I did get a request to revisit that, so that will be sometime during this month. But Stigmata, it's okay, but I'm not picking up the Street Factory Blu-ray of it. I don't even know. Does it even have any, like, new feet? I'm curious now. I'm just curious. Oh, Umbrella has a limited edition of Stigmata, really? Yes, it does. There's only 8 left in stock. Commentary from people from the movie squad. Okay, what was on the Stream Factory one? And yeah, no, that's the water heater. Apparently, they want me done with this review, but not just commentary with director Rupert Wainwright, deleted scenes, trailer, 25-minute vintage making of, History Channel special about Stigmata, and a music video. So there you go. I guess unless you desperately want the commentary, there you go. So with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. I don't hate the film, but I don't, unless it's like a request for a commentary or something, I don't see myself watching it again. But it's not the worst movie I've seen either. I mean, I could watch this with ease because of the flashiness. I know that's superficial, but again, it's better than having nothing there. At least the actors helped propel the story as much as they could, and that speaks for a bit. like I said, I think it does have an interesting beginning. Like the first third of the film, or maybe in the first half of the film, it was intriguing enough. And then I'm like, what? But anyway, we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.